welcome to Men's Community Connect. My name is Blake Ryan, and I'm really excited to be here as part of the SMB TV's Backroom. Thank you, Joey and Aaron, for having me. I'm super excited to be covering different topics every month. So today, the purpose of this segment is to talk about different issues affecting our community. What we're going to be doing is discussing issues and how they affect men specifically. So some of the topics that we're going to talk about are the topics that we find hard to talk about. The things that might be considered a little bit taboo. Before we get started on today's topic, if anyone feels like they need to talk to anyone about any of the issues that we cover, please call Lifeline on 131114. So I wanted to start off the conversation today about domestic violence. Domestic violence affects thousands of people every year, myself included. And what I realized is that I can use the experience that I've had to spread the word about domestic violence and start a conversation and actually help people. That's why I founded the Lighthouse LGBTQIA+ Domestic Violence Foundation. So there's a common myth about domestic violence that if you ignore it, it'll go away. But domestic violence is about power and control. So one person in the relationship tries to take power over one another and have control over that person. So domestic abuse is not always physical. It could be controlling finances, monitoring your phone calls, removing you from your friends and family so that you have no support. But it also has the physical aspect as well. So during the COVID-19 lockdown, people found themselves unemployed and locked in with people in close proximity. This added strains on relationships, and the number of people trying to access services rose by about 180%. This is huge for our services, and they're struggling to be able to offer that service to people experiencing domestic violence. So whilst women make up the highest statistical amount of people experiencing domestic violence, I think it's really important to acknowledge that domestic violence can and does affect men as well. Men in heterosexual relationships feel like they don't have a voice, or there's no one they can reach out to. They think that society doesn't want you to talk about the issues that are affecting you behind closed doors. Men in same-sex relationships often don't have family support. They have a fear of being outed at home or being outed at work, which causes additional issues for men experiencing domestic violence. So what I want to do is to get people talking about domestic violence. I don't want people to ask themselves some questions to figure out, are you in a domestic abusive relationship? So question one, are you constantly being asked where you are? Question two, does your partner accuse you of doing things that you may or may not have done? Question three, do you feel like you're afraid to talk to your partner about the relationship, or to even talk to your friends about it as well? What can men do to help people or help yourselves when you're in a domestic violence relationship? You can create an environment where domestic violence is not okay. You can make it so other men can talk about it. They can feel free to go up to a mate and say, hey, I think I'm in an abusive relationship. You could become a domestic violence advocate yourself. I did. So what I believe is causing services to not change in their service delivery is that statistically, all the research is set around men bashing women being the victims of the rage of a man. But that's not always true. So where is the research going, and why is there no research going into underreported issues such as men experiencing domestic violence? Statistically speaking, the results are actually showing that men are not even aware of what domestic violence is. They think that it might be okay to hit a woman if she's not doing the right thing, or hit their partner if they're not doing the right thing. And this is quite alarming, because the younger generation aren't learning about what domestic violence entails and what a healthy relationship is and how to build those from a younger age. So when it comes to violence, the triggers in same-sex relationships compared to heterosexual relationships are the same. We go through the same stresses as anyone else. We just have these additional stresses on top of those, such as being outed, not having family support. So when we're in this pressure cooker, the things that a heterosexual or a same-sex couple might feel I've sometimes considered a little bit more stressful. Myself experiencing domestic violence, I did feel like I was a little bit trapped. I felt like, I love this person and he's just going to change, or maybe I'm the one that's causing all this. But that's not the case. So what happened with me was someone approached me and they say, like, you used to be smiling, you used to be happy, and we've noticed that your light has changed. Like something must be going on. And I broke down and I cried. So finally, like I feel like someone's opened that door for me to say, yes, something is wrong. So then I had the strength and I had the support to walk away that I had no idea about. I didn't realize that there was the emotional abuse that was, making me walk away from friends that I'd had for 10 years prior to that relationship. It was, really bad. So the process of leaving a domestic violence situation is not easy. It's probably one of the hardest things that I've ever had to go through. But I feel like it's made me a stronger person today. And I'm able to sit here and talk to people who could potentially use what I have to remove themselves from a domestic violence relationship. I felt like I had no choice. I had to stay in that relationship. Where would I live? Who would I ask for help? Does anyone even care about what I'm going through? My employers, do I tell them? Like, how far does this go? And what else am I going to have to struggle with? And there are so many things. And what I'm trying to do is write a program that tackles each and every different part of someone's journey through leaving a domestic violence relationship. So the things that I learned from my experiences of domestic violence is the early signs. So things that would sneak up on a relationship that go a little bit unnoticed, like, oh, I need to check your phone, like who's that messaging you, where have you been, how come it took you so long to get home. All that stuff is still considered abuse and it is against the law. So relationships now are built on honesty and respect. I know what a healthy relationship looks like now because I have something to compare it to. So if you're experiencing an abusive relationship or you're afraid things might be getting a little bit violent, the first step is to start putting in a plan. It's thinking about how to store important documents in a place that you might be able to get them on a quick escape. Who would you go to? Who would you call? Know that there are domestic violence liaison officers who are trained to deal with this stuff, and you're not alone. That's the biggest thing. When you're experiencing domestic violence, you think that it's a private issue, but it's actually not. There are people out there who can help you. There's emergency accommodation. They can house your animals because a lot of people won't leave because they have pets. Part of what I learned was that having a plan in place, and what I'm trying to do for people is to create, steps like contacting a domestic violence liaison officer to stand outside while you collect your things. Only grab what's important and just get out of there because your safety comes first. That's my biggest advice. Thank you, Joey and Aaron. I really loved being here today. I'm going to include some information and some links. So I hope you've enjoyed today, and I'd love to hear what other people would like to talk about in the future segments.